This is the podcast of ENCACT, the European Network on Cultural Management and Policy. In this series, we interview extraordinary professionals from the cultural management and policy community. Join us to hear their stories, the secrets of their success, and their advice for creating innovation by inspiring new policies and practices in the cultural, education, and research sector.
A big welcome to all of our listeners around the world to the ENCATC Academy podcast series. I'm Pravali Bangeti, the Policy and Communications Officer at ENCATC, and this podcast is part of a special series in which we talk with inspiring leaders committed to contributing to the sustainability of the cultural and creative sectors. This series of podcasts is being registered in the framework of the ENCATC Academy on Sustainable Cultural Management and Policy, which took place in April 2024 in Lille, France. These conversations with cultural leaders are meant to inspire current and future generations of practitioners in developing new sustainable practices and policies. So join us as we go on to this journey. ENCATC is honored to be joined by Delphine Houba, the Alderwoman of Culture, Tourism, Big Events, and Municipal Equipment at the City of Brussels for this particular podcast. Madame Houba has dedicated her career to international solidarity and has been committed to improving the vibrant cultural scene of Brussels by making it more sustainable through various practices, some of which she has kindly agreed to share with us over the course of this podcast.
Hi everybody, thank you for the invitation. It is so important for me as Deputy Mayor for Culture and Major Event that the City of Brussels could be active in these networks. So I was invited to say a word on current practices and future vision on culture and sustainability for the City of Brussels. So this is what I'm going to do. So as a brief introduction, I wanted to say that there are nearly 3,000 events taking place each year on the territory of the City of Brussels. So this is a big number. So these events are either directly organized by the city or subsidized, or just we give them permission to be in the public spaces. And so as for your cities too, these events are an essential part of our identity and also for our tourist attractiveness. So we also know that these events have a significant environmental impact because it contributes to 8% of the global greenhouse gas emission, which is very important. So the objective is really to reconcile the tourist attractiveness of the city with sustainable practices. So, as I said, these events have a significant environmental impact. And if we go more into details, let's talk about transportation, food, energy, consumption, waste management. So there's a carbon footprint, and this impact, we have to deal with it. So as we know that the event sector is vital to our city, and we think also to a positive impact, because I think it's also important to talk about that, because it's also a way to create local jobs that you cannot relocate in other places in the world. It also offers a prospect to the cultural sector, and it's very important since the COVID to give this dimension to the cultural sector. And it also strengthens the attractiveness of the city, of course. And don't forget also the moment of conviviality. So I want to say that there are also positive impacts of these events. This is very important. But since the beginning of this term, the City of Brussels has made the sustainable development a really goals priority. We are committed to it through all our duties. And as Deputy Mayor for Culture and Major Events, we thought it was very important. As I said, some events are directly organized by the city, that we were kind of an example, that we could show the way, because you could say, okay, we just ask the others to do it, but we really wanted to start and to be as much as possible an example for the rest of the sector. What is also very important is to remind that sustainable development has 3 pillars, so environmental, social, and economic. It's very important to remind that there are 3 because sometimes people talk more on the environmental issue, but don't forget social and economic. So as Deputy Mayor for Culture and major events to address these challenges, I launched an ambitious sustainable event action plan, which is more of 100 measures through these 3 pillars to be sure and to make all efforts we can do to reduce the environmental footprint of our events, to promote social inclusion, and to support the local economy. So when you think about an event, you can think about waste, about transportation. But as I said, and also as a woman, it's very important if we talk about social to have a word on people, disabled people, or the fight against harassment. This is very important to not to forget these issues. So I wanted to give you a few examples just to show you how concrete it was in our policy with 3 main axes. The first would be Winter Wonders. So each year, at the end of the year, it's really like the place to be. We gather more than 4 million people. So imagine 4 million people in 5 weeks visiting our Christmas market and all the cultural activities we organize. So it's mainly a European public, but we also have people, and it's growing, people coming from the United States, Morocco, Brazil, India, Mexico, China. So as I said, it's really a challenge regarding transportation. So the action we take is to talk about the event in neighboring countries so that people can come by train, with a car, or with the public transport. It's very important. Other sustainability implementation, I can talk about the reusable cups we use for more than 10 years, recycling circuits. If you see our Christmas tree on our beautiful Grand Place, we now transform it into tables and seats. It's a way of giving this tree a third life, because the first point is that we take trees that needed to be cut. So it's not for the event that they are cut, they needed to be cut. So we use them for our events. We also work on surplus foods and meals that are now collected and distributed to association. We also work on dry toilets, mainly people coming from Brussels and from the rest of Belgium. We really support them coming by public transportation or by bike. Also, if I give you a second case study, I would like to talk about the museum prescription. This is a project I launched 2 years ago, and we are just a few cities, or maybe we are the first in Europe to launch this project. The idea is very simple. We work with people suffering from stress, burnout, depression, and we now have psychiatrists who can prescribe free visits to the museum to their patients. So it's a very original project. The idea comes from Montreal, Quebec, and we rely also on a report that the World Health Organization published in 2019 based on more than 900 scientific studies showing how culture and arts are beneficial for health, both mental and physical. And so, there's more to come regarding this project. And also a third example I wanted to give you, turning more on social sustainability, is that we work on a gender equality charter with our cultural venues in Brussels. There are lots. So we trained the team so they can be more aware of these questions and be more active also on the field of gender equality. We also organize conférences culturelles, works in French, not easy to translate in English, but it's kind of monthly lectures with women artists. So the aim is really to put them on the lights. And also the Fame Festival, Fame for Festival where arts meet empowerment, a festival of living arts and a performative arts festival, puts women and gender minorities at the forefront of the Brussels agenda. It's also in different cultural venues of the city. But these are the 3 examples I wanted to share with you, just to show how we implement these sustainable development goals and the 2030 agenda in our local agenda regarding culture and major events. So I hope to see you one day in Brussels, and take care. Bye.
You have been listening to the podcast of ENCACT, the European Network on Cultural Management and Policy. To learn more about us, our activities, and how to become a member, visit encact.org.